Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we got ourselves a $3,000 Grail unboxing here on the channel today. A very, very special one, as you guys can tell. No, it is not a comic book. Don't turn off the video. I know. I got a comic book here I'm going to show you. It is comic book related, but it is something a little bit different than a comic book. As you guys can probably tell from the size of it, you may have an inkling of what it is actually going to be. But in this video, I'm going to show you guys this new Grail I have in my collection, and then ask ourselves the question if this type of thing, which I'm trying to talk around and not actually spoil it, is actually the end of the road or the path along the journey for all comic book collectors to eventually visit. But before I get into it, if you guys could like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, helps support the channel, doing those things, I appreciate it. But let's get into this video here today. Now, this right here is a piece of work that I have not necessarily been eyeing this one, but say in this genre or this bucket of thing, I had been considering picking up some of this stuff. Obviously, you guys know my favorite character is the character of Darkhawk. Yes, unironically, I do love Darkhawk, and I actually started to think, what would it take to get a really, really badass original art piece for this character? Perhaps I could find, one of the original covers, or at the very least find a amazing piece done by Mike Manley, the original artist and creator of the character of Darkhawk. And finally, that day came. Yes, a art piece for Darkhawk did come up out there in the art world communities, and fortunately, I was able to land this exceptional piece of work. And without further ado, guys, the Grail I have to show you guys is this amazing Darkhawk splash page from issue 16, page number 8, done by Mike Manley. Look at this thing, guys. An incredible Darkhawk splash pages. I mean, take it from me, I've read all of the original series for Darkhawk. I've flipped through every single book multiple times. And this splash page right here, although it is from a random issue, number 16, I mean, I would say if you're in the top 25 issues for Darkhawk, those are the classics to me. Those are the key sort of main storyline for issues. But this is one of the best splash pages in all of the work that was in there. I mean, one of the reasons why I like it so much is so dynamic of a pose. You have two great hero character panels right here, a lot of inking on it, so there's a lot of texture on original artwork. And you even have here in the upper corner, you have Chris Powell in his human form doing the transformation with the amulet right there. You guys can read at the top, Darkhawk 16, page 8. And then down here it says, there you go, original artist Mike Manley. The original artwork for one of the original issues for the Darkhawk run, and now I get to add it to my collection. Definitely something I'm super, super happy to have, and it's been really cool because, I've been eyeing original artwork from afar. As comic book collectors, we really, really enjoy all of this stuff. This is the actual issue that it is from. If you guys have ever seen this cover, you probably would have found it many, many times in a dollar bin, but let me quickly show you guys this page. This is actually the issue that I personally had when I was growing up. Clearly, I only read this thing one time because these pages are white. But there you see right there, guys, the splash page right here that I just picked up for myself. The original art page right here, which is really funny because you forget this is actually page 12 in the comic book, even though the artwork itself says page 8 because they have all the ad pages in it. But it is so cool to actually own a piece of history, a piece of artwork that was the original for all of the printings of this book. That you couldn't have put this comic book together without this actual page right here. And it is so cool to have it because you forget, or you don't forget, but you realize this is one of one. There's only one of these things that actually exists. This is the only copy, the only version of this thing. And now I get to determine what the price is. My price is my price, that's the thing that is so interesting about it. And that's really where I wanted to kind of, ultimately talk a little bit about this idea of original art and art pieces being sort of the if not the final destination, at least sort of the next step on the journey for a lot of comic book collectors. I mean, we here on the channel, we talk a lot about values and supplies and demands and things going up and things going down and all that stuff. And I think a lot of comic book collectors who are really into this, in some kind of big financial way, always end up turning towards original art because, they're one of ones. The supply demand does not factor into that whole equation because you are the single supply. So whatever the demand is whatever you are willing to wait for the value of that art piece. But really quickly, let me just kind of show you guys a little bit of what I've learned about the original art stuff. If you guys are interested in, kind of dipping your toes into this world. Now, I'm personally, not going to say that I'm an expert in any sort of way. I just know enough to have studied how some of these things have moved in the market. And you kind of have to have, your own sort of artist hat on to really understand what some of the values and the prices are going to be. But typically speaking, some of these Copper Age covers are really, really popular because obviously the people who are buying this stuff, are people within our age range who grew up, say in the late Bronze Age or early Copper Age. And so they have the most nostalgia for these types of covers. And while the comic book versions are not, something that you can necessarily go to the moon with, these original art covers and pages are exclusive enough where you can actually have a decent return on them. So this is one of the most recent Darkhawk covers that I was watching. I had considered picking this one up, but for what it went for at $6,300, this isn't my favorite cover within the run. I mean, it's a cool cover, it's an action pose with Darkhawk, but for that price point, I would have rather had a different issue. But you guys can see that back in 2022, December, this went for $6,300. And I would say that that's a pretty ballpark range for, say, a Copper Age main title cover, where you're spending anywhere from $4,500 to $6,500 for a random issue like this. Let's say you got a random issue of Nova, or you got a random issue of the New Warriors, or whatever the case is. I would expect to pay somewhere in that ballpark range. But like the comic book market, the original art market has had a significant jump since COVID, and in this current state of the economy, it is having its pullback like a lot of things, except, kind of like in the golden age and original art world, you can sort of protect your value because they're one of one pieces. So here in 2020, this Darkhawk annual cover, which is a pretty cool one if you guys are familiar with this one, annual number 2, went for $2,000. So, if this sold, the next year in 2021 with COVID, I think you probably could have got $4,000 out of this. And I would say that if it sold today, you would easily be able to hit, in that high $3,000, $4,000, maybe even $5,000 or $6,000 range, depending on if somebody really, really wanted it. But again, you have to understand the market. You have to use your artist hat. It's much like Golden Age, where you have to think, okay, who is the artist? This cover right here for Darkhawk 41, this was in the later run done by Todd Smith. Todd Smith wasn't the original creator like Mike Manley was. So, a lot of people would rather have, say, a Mike Manley piece. It's very, very similar to, say, like, how people like Captain America Schomburg versus Captain America Sid Shores. You have to understand the differences between the artist and what you're actually seeing on the panel. It's nice to have characters on the panel. That's something that at the very least people are looking to say, okay, well, is the character on a panel? Do I actually see Darkhawk, as opposed to like just having, say, a dialogue scene? And, if you can get a page that has at least 2 shots of a character on a panel, then it's going to have some value. I mean, art pages are like everything else. You have your keys, you have your, say, quote unquote dollar bin pages. Those might be $100 or whatever. So it really, really just depends. But even a page like this that, isn't the most amazing, say, action page that you've ever seen, still went for about $1,000. So on the low end, you have kind of like $1,000 at auction purchase for some of these pages. Now, again, it also depends on the artist, the character. Obviously, if you buy an Amazing Spider-Man page or a cover done by Todd McFarlane, we're talking, $657,250, crazy numbers like that. So it really, really does depend. It's very much kind of like how the Golden Age market moves. It's very much like that. If you have those same fundamentals, who's the artist? What is the significance of the issue? Is it a key? How cool does the art actually look? All of those things matter as far as, the values are concerned. But one of the things, again, I wanted to talk about with this idea of, do all roads lead to, getting original art? to protect their values is this recent pickup at New York Comic Con with Rob from the man behind the Red Hood right here. Shout out to Red Hood Comics. If you guys do know, great comic book dealer. Rob is the owner of it. He's a good dude. He's always ducking me when I do my dealer interviews, but one of these days I'm going to get him on camera and you'll be able to hear his thoughts. But shout out to him. He is a huge dealer, operates in high volume, millions of dollars of inventory at all the shows. And at NYCC, he recently picked up his ultimate grail right here. Obviously, his company is named Red Hood Comics. So Detective Comics 168 is his favorite comic of all time. And he acquired the original art page for that comic book right there. And I kind of bring this up as a story, not just to say that this is, a very, very cool pickup and congrats to him. But, what's interesting to me about it is here you have, one of the biggest dealers who has like the biggest comic book grails, and probably could put himself in the running to pick up, an Action Comics #1 or something like that. And even for him, the ultimate acquisition that he can make for himself is the original art page, because it's one of one. Even with Detective Comics 168, I think on the census there's maybe 160 something, maybe universal labels around that area. And let's say he had the top of census one. You have the 80 or whatever it is. I don't know off the top of my head. Even if you had that book, that was still like say a 6-figure book. There's other people who have lower grade versions of it. And I think it's the status and the exclusivity of the original art things that is so alluring to a lot of high-end collectors. It's like, yes, you may have one of the lower grade issues of this comic book, but I have the original artwork. Like, you can't compare that. You can't actually beat that. And that's where a lot of people end up gravitating to this side of collecting. And then eventually after original artwork, people move on to, say Frank Frazetta oil paintings, and then you go to fine art, and then you start acquiring, Picassos and Renaissance stuff. And that is the actual, direction of where we all go with our art appreciation. Well, last little things I want to talk to you guys about, comicartfans.com. If you guys want to learn more about original artwork, this is the website to go to. This is the official sort of forum. This is where people sell their stuff. This is where people talk about art pages. If you're somebody out there who wants to find a very obscure art page, obviously you can't just go to eBay to find it. This is the network of people you're going to want to talk to see if they can actually uncover it for you. And then last shout out to panelpagecomic.art.com, who was the dealer that actually helped me get my Darkhawk page right here. So go check him out. He's a great comic book art dealer and a really, really nice guy. And then, of course, the last person I have to shout out, the biggest shout out, is Carl Choi, my good friend from 24/7 Comics. They just wrapped up their Kickstarter for Evermind. You guys, if you've been watching my channel, I've been helping them get the word out for it. But Carl was the one who is a big art collector who helped me figure out how to find stuff like this and really held my hand and navigated me through this process. So again, here's my Grail unboxing for Darkhawk issue 16, page 8. This incredible splash page, for my favorite character, a really, really cool art piece, and a one of one. So very, very cool. Probably going to hang it up. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I got to start figuring out how to do my layout here. I got more original art pieces, of course. Speaking of Evermind, I got my Sean Chen cover right here for my issue of Sanity, which, by the way, guys, we're starting up. We're getting close. We're getting close to getting the Kickstarter going, so I will keep you posted on that. Anyways, that's all I got for this video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.